When you play the Game of Thrones, you
Subscribe and like.
or you die. There is no middle ground.
Alright, hello YouTube, and welcome back to the Grease Golem YouTube channel. Today's video, we have a very serious topic to talk about. Is Winds of Winter going to be split up into two books? Because if we take a look at the past books and how many pages they are, we kind of run into a problem. And I'm not the first person to talk about this, but we kind of need to look back on it and figure out why it's taking him so long to finish Winds of Winter. And I think the whole idea here is, if you look at Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons, if you guys didn't know, they were supposed to be basically one book. It was supposed to be one book that he ends up splitting into two, right? The initial idea here was that when he was writing Feast for Crows, it got to about 15 pages, and he still had pages to go. So instead of releasing one giant book, he released two. And if you can see above my head, right up that way, you will see that they are right there. He ended up releasing two books, and the page count on the paperback, not the hardback, because the hardbacks are bigger, but the paperbacks was well over 2,000 pages between the two books. So if we take a look at that and we wonder, well, how is he going to do it in Winds of Winter? But before we dive into the rest of the video, if you guys like to like, subscribe, and comment for more of this type of Song of Ice and Fire content, as well as House of the Dragon and Rings of Power, please do. It helps the channel grow, reach your appeal that might like this content as well. And let's continue. So the idea here is, how the hell is George going to be able to combine all of the plots? Because I would say Feast for Crows and Dance with Dragons opens up more plot lines and more subplots than closes them, right? Because George split them into two books, he creates so many different things going on, right? So, for instance, Feast for Crows handles a lot of things that are new to A Song of Ice and Fire at that time period, right? So we have a lot more of the Ironborn, we have a lot more of the Dornish plot, we have a lot more of kind of the King's Landing plot kind of developing. There's a lot kind of going on in that book that is kind of new, right? If we look at the earlier books, we never really got any insight into the Dornish at all, except for Oberyn in book 3. We really only see the Iron Islands through Theon's perspective, and even then it's pretty minuscule. We're kind of there for a little bit, and then he's back in the north, right? So the idea is going to be, how is George going to combine all these plots? And we've already talked about this idea, is that he's supposed to only have two books left, Winds of Winter and A Dream of Spring. And the problem here is going to be, if we look at how many chapters he's already confirmed that he's written, and I've suggested he maybe has half of the book done at this point. If you're really thinking about what half of a book probably is for George and how big Winds of Winter is going to be, he's already stated it's going to be the biggest book of the entire series. So this book, in my opinion, is going to be very close to 2,000 pages. It's going to be basically like two of those books up there. If we look at Game of Thrones and Feast for Crows, that's basically what I think Winds of Winter is going to be. Those are, I think, the two shortest books of the series, if I'm not mistaken. It's going to be interesting to see how he does it, because I think if he doesn't decide to release one giant book, it would kind of make sense to split them in half. Now, if he, again, decides to split them in half, what does that mean for the series? That means it's going to take him even longer to release Winds of Winter. And that's what I think is one of the struggles here, is I think he wants to get this series kind of wrapped up and done with, right? But the problem is, he's either going to have to release one giant book, or he's going to have to take the time to split them up and do it exactly like how he did with Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons, or find a good middle point in Winds of Winter to end off the next book. And that's going to be very hard to do, because if you're doing it that way, the climaxes that George wants to hit in a Winds of Winter are not going to even be in the book. You're going to have kind of the midpoint climaxes. It's going to feel very anticlimactic. And the problem with him taking so long to release this book is that it's been given so much attention. It's one of the most anticipated books probably of all time, right? If this book is not good or great, George is going to be he's going to get destroyed, right? So there lies your underlying problem, right? Because if we look at Feast for Crows and Dance with Dragons, the first 3 books came out pretty quickly, right? They came out pretty quickly. And if we even look at Feast for Crows and Dance with Dragons, the reason those 2 books didn't come out relatively quickly after A Storm of Swords is because he more or less had Feast for Crows all the way finished almost. He had a little bit left, probably like the last 3/4 of it, or a lot of the stuff that we see in Dance with Dragons already written. He then had to figure out a way to split up the books in which it made sense, and then basically had to re-edit a lot of those 2 books, which is why we had like a 5-year gap, and then we had another gap in between Feast for Crows and Dance with Dragons, so he had to repurpose a lot of the material to make it make sense in a singular book by itself. So when it comes to this idea of Winds of Winter, I think that's probably another one of the biggest problems. Because if we look at, I've already mentioned, right, my biggest character that I think is slowing down Winds of Winter is Daenerys. If you look at what Daenerys has to do in Winds of Winter for it to make sense, she has to do so much. She has to resolve the Marine plotline. She has to even get back to Marine, because right now, remember, she's with the Dothraki at this point, right? She has to resolve the Dothraki plot, get back to Marine, resolve the Marine plot, and then she has to then take the boats, or I'm assuming that she's going to get from Victarion, get to Westeros by the end of the book. That is a lot to accomplish, right? Think about how season 6 did it in Game of Thrones. It felt super rushed. We basically just sped through plots. That is going to be something very difficult, and I think is slowing down his writing, right? Because we even have to figure out ways to kind of nerf Daenerys, because Daenerys is just too powerful at this point. She has 3 dragons. She has 2 really powerful armies. She's going to get a navy, it would appear, to get her to Westeros. It is a tough ask. And that I think is a lot of the problems, is there's just so many things going on, right? You have the Riverlands, you have what's going on with Littlefinger, you have the Varys and Aegon plot, you have Daenerys like we talked about, but you have the whole North. You could do an entire book on the North. You have the White Walker problem. There's just so much going on that the problem with Feast for Crows and Dance with Dragons is that it expanded our plot. It expanded the world, which is something those books are, especially Feast for Crows, praised on, right? We see more of the world, but it creates more problems as we go into the series, right? Because now he has to, fix more plot, lines. He has to show what's going to happen with Ardeon and Duran. You have to show what's going to happen with Euron, what's going to happen with this, with that. And it's something that I think we all love about A Song of Ice and Fire, is how we have so many characters, we have so many different ideologies, so much is going on, but it's really hard to complete that when you really look at the scale of everything going on right now. Whereas if you look at the first 3 books, right, they're very focused, right? For the most part, we had our main couple protagonists, we had our main stories, right? So we had like our Jon story, which is the kind of the North. We had our Daenerys story. We had Ned in book 1. And then sprinkled in there, we had other characters that were off doing other things like Tyrion and Catelyn. Book 2, you kind of have the same idea, except Ned is now, dead. So now you have kind of the other characters moving into your main POVs, where you have Catelyn as kind of your main Stark camp person. And you have Tyrion, who's your main King's Landing. So it was kind of like a rotation of POVs in certain areas that we knew had to be talked about. You had your King's Landing plot. You kind of had your Riverlands, the North kind of as a whole plot. Then you had Jon. You have your Essos plot with Daenerys. You had everything pretty much like figured out, right? We didn't expand as the books went on for the most part, outside of characters maybe like Theon here and there. We had Stannis' introduction. So, like, as I'm trying to say this, all of our plots were more or less condensed. We had our main set of characters, and the books, as we hit Feast for Crows and Dance Dragons, only expanded. They did not, like, decompress plot lines and focus our story. They made the story wider, which is the big problem with Winds of Winter. But that is kind of what I wanted to talk about in this video. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think we are going to get Winds of Winter within the next couple years? If I'm going to give you guys my late prediction towards the end of the video, because somebody had commented in a live stream to make a video on when I thought it would be released, I would say at best 2024, around like Thanksgiving, Christmas time. That would be, I would say that would be the best possible case scenario. I don't think it's going to happen this year. Definitely not. I don't think it's going to happen next year. I think maybe towards the end of 2024 would be a good time, but who knows? But let me know what you guys think. When are we going to get Winds of Winter? When do you guys think we're going to get Winds of Winter? And do you think it could possibly split up? If it gets split up, I don't think we're going to get Winds of Winter. I think we could get maybe the first half of it, but we won't get the second half. But let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.